There we go. There we go. I wasn't for sure why it was not loading for a second. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked.
お子様方をお連れいたしました。失礼いたします。
The doors were opened, and we were invited inside. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance with that ordering.
遅えぞガキども。早く席につけよ。
The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were the spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head-on, the seating order went from right to left, with the lower-ranking seats progressing in rows of 2 further away from it. So, the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the incipient's chair, was where Uncle Crush should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Eva, who was the 3rd highest in rank. The left-hand side of the second row was for the 4th highest in rank. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the 3rd of the siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But nope, the left-hand seat in the 3rd row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Niki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then, finally, next to me on the left-hand side of the 5th row, sat Aunt Natsuhi, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsuhi, in the 6th row and the final seat on the left-hand side, sat Karie-san. The seat opposite to Karie-san was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal position. I'm going to repeat that. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal position as their partners, but the Ushiramiya family system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's room is just something to be borrowed, then the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. It's terrible, but by this system, my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me, if she were still alive. In their youth, they obey their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. There's an old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Yeah. Aunt Nasuhi, who is married to the eldest son and was de facto number 2 in managing this family, sat to my right. Which meant she was 2 steps slower than me in the ranking order. It was hard to imagine what might be going inside of her heart. That's why I made a small, apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down.
お久しぶりですね、バトラ君。ずいぶん背が伸びましたね。
はい。食ったり食べたり食事したりしてたら、いつの間にかこんな身長に。
さすが男の子ね。身長はいくつくらいあるの
？180かな。つーかおばさん、そこは食べてばっかりじゃねえかって突っ込んでくださいよ。
ああ、ごめんなさいね。
After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Natsuhi. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. Is it similar if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things, with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchange words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her. Though my efforts seem to have ended in failure. Alright, before we continue on, let's read Nasuhi's profile on the legend. Ushumiya Nasuhi, Cross's wife. She manages the household of the Ushumiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest in such matters. She was in charge of all preparations and arrangements for this family conference. She possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor his siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. Ah, intriguing. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So, as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not even the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived.
遅えな、じいさま。俺の記憶じゃ、時間に厳格な人だったと思うんだけどな。
まあ、6年前はそうだったかもな。最近はそうでもねえよ。というか、もう自分の世界オンリーって感じで、会食にも顔を出さねえぜ。さすがに今日くらいは足並みを揃えてくれるって思ってたんだけどな。まあ、私は来ない方が気楽で嬉しいけどよ。
ジェシカ
When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw it was almost 12:20. Oh! And And we're about to meet Grandpa, even though we met him in the prologue. Ushimiya Kinzo, the aged family head of the Ushimiya head family. Does he have 2 portraits of Beatrice? He has 2 portraits of Beatrice. I can see that from behind his shoulder. He has another portrait of Beatrice. Alright. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to rise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. In this sealed room... Hold up. Wait. I heard the cowbell earlier. Sorry, my mind's in 1,000 places right now, but I heard the cowbell because his profile is available now. Ushimiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushimiya family, even though it has already been announced that he has just have a few months... He has just... Okay, one second. I need to reread that. That didn't sound right to me. Even though it has already been announced that he has just a few months left to live, he is brimming with energy. Though he amassed a vast fortune in the past, he never made any announcements regarding the inheritance, which worries his children. He is strongly influenced by the West, and is a rabid fan of the occult. His study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Ah! No wonder why there's a lot of mentions of the witch Beatrice. Let me guess, he's gonna summon Beatrice to their family gathering. Actually, no. He is gonna summon her. This is a Raikishi work. I should expect something like that to happen. Or, will she arrive? Or is she like an invisible ghost? Like Orashio-sama? Who knows? In this sealed room, a dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had... I'm sorry, let me reread that again. I just got done with the torturous Steins Gate true ending thing I just did. Took me 2 hours to unlock all the necessary steps to get the true ending. My mind's still slightly amush. I'm sorry, everyone. This is what happens when we record a lot of videos at the same time. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped shut the old book in his hands and slammed it on the table. Then, he yelled at Cross, who was still knocking on the door.
やかましいその音を止めぬか愚か者叩けば扉は開かれると誰が教えたそのバカ者は貼り付けにしたぞお前もそうされたいのか
お父さん年に一度の親族会議の日ではありませんか皆下に集まっていますどうかおいでください
Cross called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself up in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Cross had no choice but to call him from the corridor like this.
私にかなうでない
Could you have said anything but that? Could you have said anything but molest me not? Please! Do not use the word molest!
港は何か私をここから引きずり出そうとする者どもなのかならば殺してしまいバラバラにして薪にして魔女の炉にくべてしまいその炉には鍋をかけて苦い重みを煮るがいい黙示録の煮汁はそれでも私をここから連れ出そうとするバカ者どもに飲ませてやれ残りは酒につけるのだああ源氏はどこだ源氏を呼べ苦界の魔師を用意させろ緑の妖精のささやきが届かぬああ源氏はどこだ源氏を呼べ
On the other side of the door, Cross, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly... On the other side of the door, Cross, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out. So that's what Cross looks like. Wow. He has a punchable face.
すっかり嫌われてしまったようだ。もう私の声では何も届かんよ。
Cross shrugged as though saying, "It's no use," and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected his father to respond to his calls. However, since it was the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality.
金蔵さん、あんたの顔を見に息子や娘や孫たちが来てるんじゃないか。ちょっと顔を見せてやったらどうだね。
うるさい黙れ私に意見するというか南條貴様など呼んではおらぬ私は源氏を呼べと言ったのださあ急げすぐに呼べ時間は常に有限だ人たちはすでにラッパを構えているぞなぜにそれがわからぬか愚かな羊どもめ
I can't tell if he's doing this because he's really old, or he's saying something truthful. I can't tell if this is because he's old, or if he's actually stating what's about to come. Kinzo slammed an old, heavy book against the table, over and over. That racket nearly expressed his great displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open, as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled,
なぜだなぜにいつも私には邪魔が入るのかすべてを捨てようすべてを捧げようその見返りに私は一つしか求めないというのにああベアトリーチェお前の微笑みをもう一度見られるならば私は世界中から美少を奪い取りすべてをお前に捧げようおおイナゴの軍団長たちよ世界中から美少を刈り取り収穫せすべてが汚らわしいすべてが煩わしい
Why am I laughing at the dying old man?
なぜこの貴重な一日に私は邪魔を受けねばならぬのか。
That is not how one coughs. Hold up. That is not how one coughs. To cough, you need to go. Okay, that sounded just as fake as his cough. I can admit, that sounded just as fake as his cough. These coughs sound so fake to me. Why? I should not be judging the coughs of a dying old man, but still. These just make me kind of feel a little bit more uncomfortable than, uncomfortable. Yeah, I feel a different sort of uncomfortable. Not the uncomfortable I'm supposed to be feeling. The uncomfortable that I'm feeling is not the kind that they were intending, I think.
Genji wo yobei!
何を怒鳴ってるのかもさっぱりではない。もう頭がどうにかなっているのだろう。
クラウスさん、実のお父さんにそりゃあんまりじゃないかね。
親父はすでに死んでいる。
Oh.
ここにいるのは親父だったものの幻さ。いずれにせよ本人にここを出る意志がない以上どうにもならんね。
金蔵さん。
Choking coughs continue to pour from the study.
私は下に戻る。ゴーダの自慢のランチをこれ以上無駄に冷ましてしまうことはない。親類たちにとって当家での数少ない楽しみだろうからな。
Cross spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain.
源氏さん、親父殿がお呼びだ。相手を頼む。
かしこまりました。
南條先生、食事に行きましょう。いつまでもここにいるとこの甘い匂いで味覚までおかしくなってしまう。
Without waiting for Nanjo, Cross went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study door and Cross's back as the latter disappeared down the stairs, then let out a deep sigh.
すまんが源氏さん、頼みます。
はい、お任せください。
お酒はなるべく与えないように。あれは常習性が強すぎる。
源氏はまだか。何者が源氏を阻んでいるというのか。源氏はどこだ。源氏を呼べ。
さあ、ここはお任せください。
すみませんな。
Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave, then knocked on the study door.
親方様、源氏でございます。
源氏か。何故私をこれほどに待たすのか。そこには誰もおるまいな。
はい、私だけでございます。
Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. What the hell? What? That's a cool as fuck way to unlock a door! What? I want that! Man! Sometimes I like the idea of being rich. Even though you're kind of an asshole when you're rich, but still, that kind of stuff makes me kind of, wanting to be rich, despite how you're an asshole if you're rich. Kinzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study. Or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air, and ended up scattering things that, to him, were important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted the most. Fucking whom. The fucking word whom. Genji, whom he trusted the most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through the door, unable to even see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got could hardly be called a conversation. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. After all, it just wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head, who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of the servants.
元気、いつものやつを頼む。私は忙しい。
はい。
Genji headed to a corner of the study. There, the suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colors were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of this room, one might easily suspect them of being some ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown into a mountain. They were bizarre, ancient, or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would fly into a rage and say, "Call them Grimoires!" There were also many mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellations drawn on a certain celestial globe contained quite a few shapes that would draw puzzled looks from anyone familiar with today's night sky. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them of a religious or mysterious nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, a sweet, poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and noses of those who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must surely make a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would even think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex and ornate glass, unless someone first told them it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass. Then, he placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become even more unrecognizable as liquor. Then, Genji added original flavors Kinzo loved, fine-tuning its tastes. There was no recipe. Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and it had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on a tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window.
どうぞ、親方様。
ああ、すまん。
Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind as he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo and to his left, and as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji.
飲め、我が友よ。
もったいないお言葉です。
私とお前の中に儀礼はいらぬ。飲め、友よ。
いただきます。
Genji respectfully received the glass and inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down.
お前が作るのを真似ているのだがどうにも同じ味が出ぬ。お前が作る方がうまい。
ありがとうございます。親方様のご指導の賜物です。
Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at a close friend's old, unshakable habit.
互いに老いたな。年を数えることも忘れてすでに久しい。
今日まで過ごすことをお許しいただけたのも、すべて親方様のおかげでございます。
Kinzo gave a faint smile, as if to say he didn't need any flattery.
今日まで本当によく私に仕えてくれた。息子たちは誰もが私を変人呼ばわりした。大勢いた使用人も皆私を恐れてやめていった。お前だけが今でも私に仕えてくれる。
もったいないお言葉です。
私の余命もそう長くはあるまい。息子たちは私の遺産がいつ転がり込んでくるかをうろうろ待つハゲタカばかりだ。クラウスの愚か者は金を湯水のように使い、1枚の金貨を売るのに2枚の金貨を捨てておる。それで金を稼げたなどと妄言を。エヴァは金の亡者だ。あやつは私を鶏か何かだと思っておる。 死んだらガラにして出汁まで取る気だ。ルドルフの間抜けは女遊びばかり。ローザはどこの馬の骨ともわからん男の赤ん坊など産みおって、ジェシカは無能で無学だ。ジョージには男としての器がない。バトラーは後宮家の栄誉を自ら捨ておった愚か者だ。マリアなど見るのも汚らわしい。
Jesus!
なぜだ、なぜに後宮の血はこうも無能なのか。私の築き上げた栄光を受け継ぐにふさわしい者はおらんのか。ああ、わかっておるとも、これがベアトリーチェの呪いであることもわかっておる。黄金の魔女め、それが私への復讐のつもりか。憎みたくば憎むがよい。逃げたければ逃げるがよい。逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬ、逃がさぬわ。お前は私のものだ。常に私の腕の中でなくてはならん。私の生涯のすべてなのだ。我が鳥かごにて永遠に私だけに囁き続けるのだ。
I'm gonna have to give some claps to this voice actor though, because holy crap, this is a really good voice. They might need to work on their coughing though, but this is a great voice still. I really like Kinzo's voice.
ベアトリーチェ、なぜに微笑み返してはくれぬ。ベアトリーチェ。
After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expression did not change. It was always like this.
すまぬ我が友よ。
When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing two different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living inside together in one body. Living together in one body, yeah. I should have said that instead.
私は決心した。このままぼやききった余生を怠慢に過ごすことなどもはや耐えられはせん。この身に最後にとするコインがあるならば、それを悪魔たちのルーレットに託してみたい。魔法の力はいつもかけるリスクで決まる。日本古来の呪術である牛の国参りがそうであろう。7日間儀式を目撃されてはならないというリスクを支払うからこそ魔力が宿る。困難なリスクが生じれば生じるほどに魔力は強く生じるのだ。神話に登場する数々の奇跡は天文学的リスクに奇跡的な低確率を得て成就した驚愕すべき魔力の結晶なのだと言える。モーゼが海を割ったのは神の奇跡ではない。 蹂躙の計りに乗せられ軍勢によって航海に追い詰められた絶体絶命のリスクが奇跡の魔力を生んだのだ。同じことが同じ規模で繰り返されようとも再び海が割れることはないだろう。なぜならモーゼは力ある者たちのルーレットの阿葬儀ナユタをかけたよりも多く存在する目の中に一つだけ刻まれた奇跡を見事引き寄せることができたからだ。その天文学的確率に勝利できる力、そう、奇跡をつかみ取る運気はすなわち魔力なのだ。強大な魔力を得るためには絶望的なリスクを背負わねばならぬ。魔力持たぬ者はそれを賭けでなく自暴自棄と呼ぼう。しかし真に魔力ある者はその奇跡をつかみ取り神秘を成就させるのだ。もしも私にその魔力があるならば、私はその奇跡をつかみ取るだろう。生涯を費やした願いを実現できるだろう。
Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies.
もし私にその奇跡を手にする資格があったなら、おお、ベアトリーチェ、ベアトリーチェ、お前の愛くるしい笑顔をもう一度だけ見せてくれ。どれほどの月日を経ようともお前の面影が消えることはない。ただお前の美少が見たい、それだけだ。お前から授かったものを全て返そう。あの日からの栄光を全てお前に返そう。富も名誉も黄金もいらぬ。お前に授かった全てを返そう。私はただお前の美少が見たいだけなのだ。五章だ、ベアトリーチェ。
His nonsensical yells became a scream, and then a wail. Kinzo slumped to the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's limitations.
やあ諸君。
Ho 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 ho! Cross enters the lunchroom. But I'm gonna leave this lunch scene for another video for another time. That's right, I'm saving it right here, right now before Cross enters. So thank you everybody for watching this part of Umineko When They Cry. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like. Wait, Umineko Legend of the Golden Witch. Okay, that's what the game's called. I forgot what episode 1's called. Okay. Thank you everybody for watching this episode of Umineko Legend of the Golden Witch. Got that time. But yes, everyone, thank you all for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you all next time. I'll see you all next time. Mikado.
Okay.